Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakdash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath that may listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another lesson. And for today's lesson is going to be a bit of an exhortation. And the quote is wisdom for cowards. Now, this quote actually came from a member. I don't know if it was a member or a one of the leaders of another Israelite camp known as ISUPK. And they made a statement saying, is wisdom for cowards, right? Right? But they actually, sorry, Salakia. They actually said wisdom is for cowards, right? So I turned it into a question, right? Is wisdom actually for cowards, right? So I wanted to touch on that really quickly, because I thought it was a very ridiculous statement to make. And what I want to show you throughout this lesson today, the importance of wisdom, right? And examples of our forefathers actually applying wisdom, especially in dire situations, right? So, first off, let me just start off with this one comment that this individual made, because I thought it was very, very, ridiculous of a thing to say. Now, this is Jeremiah 4, verse 22, and it reads, For my people is foolish, they have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge, right? So, our people have a zeal, to do the wrong things, to err from the ways of the scriptures and the ways of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? Serving other gods, celebrating these pagan traditions, right? And so on and so forth, right? Worshiping themselves, worshiping these idols, and, the list continues, right? So let's get into our first precept, right? And we're going to go through a little bit of the importance of wisdom, right? So I want to start off with Proverbs 1, and I want to read down, and, Yahweh Ratazah, this video be edifying, right? So this is Proverbs 1 and 1, and it reads, The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, right? Verse 2, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, right? So wisdom is giving us instructions on how to do certain things and how things should be carried out, right? Because we live in a place, I don't know, for myself, a lot of us brothers, few sisters, and our families, a lot of us live in Babylon the Great, which is America, which and under this rulership, under this unwise king, um, we get destruction. We don't get instruction. Verse 3, to receive instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. So this is the importance of what wisdom is actually giving us, right? So before I continue, let's get that word subtlety. That's one of the juicy words I wanted to touch on, right? Because it said give subtlety to the simple, right? And a lot of our people, they're simple, and simple not in the way of they're like straightforward. They're simple in the way of being sottish, being stupid, right? So let's get this word subtlety. Oh, sub. Actually, let's get subtile, right? Okay, so this is subtle in the etymology, and it reads clever, dexterous, crafty, not dense. Oh boy. So dense is somebody who's just like a blockhead essentially, right? Thin, rarefied. Let's keep going. What does it say? Okay, so this is subtle. So okay, here down here. Oh, this is here below here it says cunning, skilled, clever, insidious, um treacherously cunning, deceitful, not dense or viscous, light, pure, delicate. Okay, so some a few words I wanted to touch on is really here. It says cunning, skilled, clever, right? So what the scriptures do, it teaches you to be clever, right? And these are very, very important skills to know, right? Because our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, right? And we're behind, enemy lines. We live amongst these people. So, what's important and our wisdom comes from these scriptures, right? The scriptures say that the word of the Most High is quick and powerful like a two-edged sword, right? So it's a weapon that we're holding, right? This is a weapon that, that we should hold on to, and we should learn how to learn how to wield it, right? And that's the importance of what we get from these scriptures, right? And what we get from being instructed with the minds of Yahweh and through his son Yahweh Shai, right? So to let's get another quick precept and I'll come back to Proverbs, because it talked about being subtle and being cunning and clever, but you can do that. What I'm trying to bring on to the point of this lesson is to do that in righteousness, not in wickedness, right? Okay, so this is Matthew chapter 10 verse 16, and it reads, "Behold, I have sent you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves," right? So, we are sheep in the midst of wolves, and these wolves represent, these other nations, even members of your family, um, and, these Edomites, the elites that are trying to devour you with all these different crafty devices that they're trying to lay out. In Second Corinthians, I believe 2:11, it reads that we should not be ignorant of Satan's devices, right? So how do you recognize Satan's devices? You actually you get equip yourself with these scriptures. You put on the whole armor of the Most High, right? So you can actually dodge these punches, right? Dodge when Satan is throwing you jabs, right? So it teaches you, essentially it's teaching you how to fight, but you're fighting in the spirit, you're not fighting in the flesh. Let me just make that very clear, right? But it also says that you be harmless as doves, right? So you have to learn how to be clever, and at the same time you have to learn how to you know be harmless. You're not presenting yourself as, I want to use one of the other cancers as an example. I believe it was Sakari, when they were carrying actual weapons at camp. That's not carrying yourself as harmless as a dove. If you're actually carrying a physical weapon, you look harmful, right? And you know how the media likes to make us look, right? Anyways, let's go back to Proverbs. So this is Proverbs chapter 1 verse 4 again, and it reads, to give subtlety to the simple, and to the young man knowledge and discretion. Verse 5, and it reads, a wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. And where do we get these wise counsels from? We get it through the Most High, through his son Yahweh Shai, our apostles, our elders, who have actually gone through different experiences and actually instructing you to remain on that right path, right? Oh, and also our forefathers. I can't also neglect that. That's very, very important, right? That is, also likened unto wise counsel, right? Seeing how they carried out certain things, right? The scriptures say, inquire. As a matter of fact, let me just get it before I butcher it. Okay, this is Job chapter 8, verse 8, and it says, "For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of your fathers," right? So, when we get acquainted with the scriptures and learning, these the ways and the past of the things that our forefathers did, we get understanding and we can extrapolate what they did or even what they didn't do, so we can, improve, ourselves and rehearse the righteous acts, right? And actually be more of an upright, Israelite man and or woman, right? So, let's go back to Proverbs. Where was I? Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 6, and it reads, "To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings," right? So the scriptures are also filled with hidden sayings, dark sayings that are not very straightforward. They're very parabolic, right? Verse 7, "For the fear of the Lord Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction," right? So this is very important. This is where our our step to actually obtaining knowledge is actually fearing the Most High and actually, practicing what he says, right? Because his ways are above our ways, right? Um, but fools despise wisdom. So this person, whoever made this comment, is likened unto a fool, right? Because they're showing the rest of the world and to their congregation that they actually despise wisdom and instruction, right? Verse 8, it says, "My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Uh, for they shall be an ornament of grace and chains about thy neck." Right? So, having this wisdom and instruction actually, it makes us shine, right? Like the scriptures say, right? So, this is also very, very important, right? Because it teaches you things to do and things what not to do, right? It's not, but our people are so foolish because sometimes when they think about the commandments, for example, they might think that, the Most High doesn't want us to eat certain things. I'm just using the dietary laws as an example. Doesn't want us to eat certain things because they think that it's, the Most High is just trying to be, like a hard father, essentially. There's no reason why he's doing it. But when you really look into it, even further on a deeper level, you're really going to start to understand that a lot of these foods need to be where they belong so they can fulfill their purpose in cleaning up the planet, in cleaning up the oceans, right? To making things are tidy, right? So, but our people, they strongly despise wisdom, right? Let's get hang on. Let's jump to Proverbs 25. Okay. So this leads to my next account. So this is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 1, and it reads, "These are also proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, the king of Judah, copied out." Verse 2, "It is the glory of the Most High Yahweh to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter," right? So one of the reasons I wanted to bring this out is because, a king, would search out, the different would search out the scriptures, essentially, right? And this is one of the manners and one of the habits of someone who is likened unto a king, right? a king is not just going to have a council for no reason and just let them sit there. They're going to actually be able to, give a report on certain things. Like, say, for example, a king wants to take over a land, right? So what they would do, they might send, before they actually send out an army, they're going to send out, a couple people, maybe a couple spies to check out the land, and they'll bring back a report. Okay, what's going on? Look on the insides, search things out, right? Be prudent, right? Is this something worth actually taking on, right? So what I want to do now is bring out a quick account of one of our forefathers actually implementing wisdom, especially in a time, especially in a dire time, right? Let's get. Oh no! Just give me 1 second. Oh no. Okay. So up here it says David runs from Saul, right? So I'm going to jump down to, I believe it's verse 12. Okay, so this is an account of King David, being he's being sought after by King Saul, right? Okay, so this is First Samuel chapter 21. I'll start at verse 10. I'm gonna read it in the NLT, so just bear with me. And it reads, "So David escaped from Saul and went to King Achish, King Achish of Gath," right? So King Achish essentially is one of the kings of the Philistines at the time of Saul's reign, right? And Saul's trying to he's trying to get his hands on David, so David essentially is running for his life. So this is shortly after David, he kills Goliath, right? And Saul eventually starts to, there starts to be some kind of hatred towards David, right? He starts getting very, very carnal, right? But throughout this whole situation, David continues to remain spiritual, right? So you notice the difference. Verse 11, and it reads, "But the officers of Achish were unhappy about being there. Isn't this David? Isn't this David, the king of the land?" They asked. Isn't he the one of? Isn't he one of? Isn't he the one the people honor with dances, singing? Saul has killed his thousands, and David has killed tens of thousands. And I believe in that chapter it was actually a woman that was making that comment, and then that's when the that hatred of Saul started to actually brew, you know. Verse 12, and it reads, David heard these comments and was very afraid of King Achish of Gath might do to him, right? So you have to imagine the situation, you're in the you're in the presence of another king, a heathen king. You don't know what he's gonna do to you, right? You're also surrounded by these men, so you understand that David was in a very critical situation. He wasn't like lounging at the beach with some pina coladas or anything like that. It wasn't comfortable. It was a very uncomfortable sort of situation. So now remember, just to put yourself in that kind of mindset. But this is very interesting, so I'm just going to continue reading, and it says verse 13. So he pretended to be insane, scratching on doors and drooling down his beard. Verse 14. Finally, King Achish said to his men, must you bring me a madman? Verse 15. We already have enough of them around here. Why should I let someone like this be my guest, right? So this is very interesting because you're someone who's like being you're being detained. Imagine that you're being detained a king of another nation. You don't know what these heathens might do to you. So what do you start to do? You start to pretend like you're crazy. You can imagine he was probably like, how people get like those like epileptic like fits, and they start foaming in the mouth. So this is something like what David began to do, to kind of get himself out of that situation, right? So this is David applying that subtlety in this situation, right? In a very dire situation, because with these heathen, they might just take your life, they might disembowel you, take your organs out, and they pay homage to their gods. So I'll read verse 15 again. And we already have enough of them around here. Why should I let someone like this be my guest? Right? So, with David, this is a very critical situation that he was in, so this is something to also keep in mind, right? The scriptures also talk about walking circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, right? So, you know, so for this person to make a comment like that is very, very, foolish. And if there's anything our people need is instruction, righteous instruction, and wisdom, right? So, anyways, hopefully this video was edifying. I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.